Hello, I'm Tom Morgan, and today we're going to talk about 5 things to do whilst you wait for your full focus planner to arrive. Now, if you're anything like me, you've done tons of research about different productivity tools, different journals, and different ways to approach this problem, and then you've landed on the full focus planner. It might be because you've already, experienced Michael Hyatt's work like I have in the past, and it's really helped, or there may be some other reasons, but you've done your research, you've ordered the planner. And then what happens? Well, if you're like me, having done all that research and really kind of got into the zone and picked up all of the benefits, you're itching to go. You really want to start using that planner and start changing your life today. But you've got to wait for it to arrive. And if you're like me, an international customer, that is going to take multiple days. And so I started looking around for things that I could do that were useful whilst I waited for my planner to arrive. And this is where I came up with this list of 5 things to do whilst you wait for your planner to arrive. Okay, number 1, the video tutorials. What you'll find once you've bought the full focus planner is that you'll get an email, and you're directed to watch some video tutorials. They're really good, and I encourage you to watch them all the way through. Now, you're going to go ahead and watch them now, but I also think you should watch them after you've done all the other things as well, because I think they'll make more sense. But watch them all now. If, like me, you might watch them and you still might have a ton of questions, and that's okay. But it's good to kind of get into the groove of this is what the planner contains, this is how I'm going to use it. I actually use those videos for a large part of my research as well to understand how the planner worked. Okay, second thing that I did that I found really useful. I read this book. Okay, so this is Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. It's not the case that everybody who reads this book needs to have the planner, although I think that would be useful. But I'm going to say if you're buying the planner, it's really worthwhile having read this book. It really is. In the book, Michael sets out the reasons why the planner works and walks you through the whole process. And the video tutorials are great in kind of specifically telling you how to use the planner. The book tells you why to use the planner. So I would 100% recommend reading the book. It does not take long to read, and I think you will really benefit from reading the book before you start using the planner. The third thing I think it would be really useful to do, map out your ideal week. Now, you'll see this referenced in the Free to Focus book. It's one of the free tools that you can download as part of the book, and you can go and print off an ideal work planner, and you can fill out your ideal week. This was transformational for me in helping me think about what an ideal week should look like. And I really encourage you to do it. There is something exciting and slightly scary about looking at a completely blank ideal week template and thinking, how am I going to fill this out? How do I fill this out for my best self? So I would absolutely recommend doing that. And that's worth doing actually before the planner arrives, because there is a space for it in the planner to put your ideal week. But I went through a couple of different iterations on paper before I settled on the ideal week. I went through some things and then realised that actually I was putting things in that weren't ideal for me. They were just things that were already in place. So I took them out again, and then I shuffled some things around. And so by the time the planner arrives, I'm going to have a much clearer idea of what my ideal week actually is, because I'll have been through a couple of different versions. The next thing I did, and this kind of leads off the ideal week work, is I started to think about rearranging my calendar. Once you've mapped out your ideal week, you start to see some things in your current calendar that maybe you could move around and make them a bit more ideal. So for instance, I do a lot of my high value work in the mornings. I know I'm more productive in the mornings. So my ideal week had a lot of high value work in the mornings, and then some more of that low value work in the afternoons. But actually, when I go and look at my calendar of, reoccurring appointments, lots of those meetings are in the morning. So I've started shuffling those meetings around to move them into the afternoons to clear out my mornings. Now, that process is going to take a few weeks because I need to get buy-in from all the other meeting attendees and all the rest of it. Sometimes I need to wait for, some meetings I've already agreed to, so I need to wait for them to run their course. But new meetings I can get into the afternoons. So that process is going to take a little bit of time. But why not start it now? So that's something else that I've started doing whilst I wait for the planner to arrive. And finally, I think it's really worthwhile going back and refreshing your task lists. You likely already have lists of tasks that you're working towards. It is worth getting completely on top of that because the planner will enable you to incorporate them if you want to, or run a hybrid model. But what is really important is that you have a really consolidated list of tasks that is up to date and contains absolutely everything. So if you're like me, sometimes that gets a bit woolly over time, so it is worth just kind of going back and refreshing those lists and making sure they're absolutely up to date. You can use a tool for that. You can use an app. You can do it on paper. I use a kind of variety of different things. I'm a big fan of the kind of getting things done model as well. So I have tasks from that, and I use that sort of same mentality. I actually use Trello to manage that list of tasks. Whatever works for you. I think going into using the planner, I think it would be really valuable to have a really up-to-date prioritized list of tasks to help drive forward what your quarterly goals are, what your monthly goals are, what your weekly goals are, and then what your daily task list should look like. All right, for me, those are 5 things that I'm doing whilst I wait for my planner to arrive. What are you doing whilst you wait for your planner to arrive? Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to know if there's something else I should be doing. Planner users, what do you wish you'd done before you first started using your planner? Let me know that as well. That would be really interesting. Whatever it is you're doing, have a really productive day, a really productive week, and I'll talk to you again next time.